Despite what just about every single person on the internet wants you to believe, you absolutely have more time than you think. Sorry to have used potentially a clickbaiting title to play on the fact that fear and anxiety and you're running out of time gets more people to click, but that's kind of exactly why I use the title, so that the opposite message can get through to the people that need to see it. I, just like everybody else when scrolling the timeline, have been, and even now can get roped into the fear and the anxiety of every third person telling you that if you're not working hard enough, if you haven't had it figured out, if you're not a millionaire in your 20s, then you're running out of time or you're not going to make it. I find this sort of messaging, this anxious energy, to be disgusting, and it's just a flat out lie. And there are a couple specific reasons why I find this so problematic and why I'm even taking the time to make a video about it. One is, let's take the positive aspect of moving with a sense of urgency, right? Our time is finite and it's not guaranteed. So we do need to be doing things if we want to accomplish a lot. We need to be moving, like I said, with a sense of urgency and a sense of purpose. But moving with fear and anxiety as the fuel for that, like, oh my God, I'm running out of time, that nervous, frantic energy, it might get you to do a ton of stuff really rapidly and anxiously at the beginning, but it's an unsustainable fuel source. It will eventually run out and it will absolutely tire and exhaust you. And then if you're doing anything that requires a creative aspect of your mind, kind of problem solving, communicating with other people, really, in my opinion, anything in life, anything that's made out of fear or anxiety, first of all, will be less successful than its alternative. But two, you will have a harder time creating what you need to create if you're trying to create from a sense of fear or, running away from a bad outcome versus running towards a positive one. So that's one. Secondly, and closely connected, I think that if you're always anxiously running away or worried about the time fleeting away or thinking that you're running out of time, even if somehow you do manage to sustain the output and you are moving towards your goals, you're actually going to hate the process of it all and your experience along the way, because you're constantly in that anxious state where you're afraid, you're worried about not having enough time or running out of time or not moving at a fast enough pace towards your goal. So even when you eventually say get the thing that you're working towards, you will have spent however long it took to get there not enjoying the time that you spent to get there, which could be a year, it could be 5, it could be 10, maybe it's the length of an entire career, 25, 30 years. That's your life. Your life is made up of the days, and if you aren't enjoying the days, then you haven't enjoyed your life. So in my opinion, it's much more about finding a sustainable way to enjoy the process along the way. And then finally, you are running out of time or you're not going to make it or you don't have time, it's just an objective lie. Take, for instance, somebody that pours an entire career, say a 25-year career, into a field that doesn't fulfill them. Say from the time they graduate university for easy math, 25, they finish their undergrad and maybe a master's degree, and then they have a traditional career, 25 years. You're only 50 years old, and say you have a very average life expectancy, you're only going to make it to 75. You have another career of lifetime afterwards. 25 years. If you're watching this, you're probably around that age anyway, which means you're literally your entire lifespan up and until now, you have another one of those to pour into another career or path. So anyone that's telling you that you're running out of time, you're not moving fast enough, you don't have enough time, all this nervous, anxious energy, I would encourage you to assess when you see that kind of messaging, how does that make you feel when you hear it? Does it make you excited and empowered to do more? Or is it a contracting force? When you hear it, do you start to be closed up? Like, oh my God, am I doing enough? What am I doing? Is it going to work out? What if I'm not moving fast enough? What if? Like, it's a very, very, like I said, contracting versus expansive feeling. Whereas somebody could say, you have your whole life ahead of you. What are you excited about doing this year? What would it look like for this to be the best year of your life? I think these positively valenced questions are much more productive, not only productive in the sense that you'll produce more and you'll actually get better outcomes, but productive in the sense that it is producing energy and positive experience along the way towards whatever the hell you're working towards. And the reason I'm passionate or even making this video in the first place is because I'm aware of the psychology. Like I said at the beginning with the title of this video, like thumbnails with people's faces in them being scared or anxious, and then all the doom pilling that you see even in the mainstream news. It's always something scary. There's always an impending threat, economic collapse, doom and gloom. Because it plays on human psychology, we are much more inclined towards the negative. Call it an evolutionary byproduct, right? It pays better to think that there's a threat and you be wrong than to not think that there's any threat in the bush and you're wrong there and it turns out that there's a saber-toothed tiger to get you. We're left with the remnants of that psychological programming, but there are no longer threats in the bushes. And when you're scrolling on the timeline and you're looking at this fear porn, it's making your life fucking horrible. You're scared all the time and you're not going to step into the highest version of yourself, giving your gift to the world, actually being productive. And there are conscious actors, whether they're institutions like the news or individual creators, that prey on this psychological thing to make profit off of you. They're going to try to sell you a course or coaching or a product or even just content continuously on the treadmill and keep you looking and consuming. This is your last chance. If you don't get out now, you'll never get out. Like, you and I both know exactly who I'm talking about, and you've seen something to this effect on the timeline. I think it's toxic, and I refuse personally to play into that, and you guys can hold me accountable to that. I never plan to make content that airs on that side of the fence, and if I ever do, please call me out. Now, that's an absolute sacrifice on my part. It would 100% be better marketing to play on how I know the human brain works and to sell the fear and to sell the anxiety, because at the end of the day, it does sell. There's a reason the news does it. There's a reason all these people market that way. But I couldn't live with myself if I knew I was adding to that chorus of noise and anxiety and fear, as opposed to helping people step into their level of empowerment to a place where they're not afraid of every single day or enjoying the process along the way towards a big goal. And at a baseline, I just am kind of creating a pushback into the algorithm, I guess, something that maybe I've needed to see in the past and I just don't see on the timeline, on the internet, in any of these discussions enough. Everybody, even the big people, some people that I look up to, you don't have enough time. It's going to go by faster than you think. I completely agree. I mean, I have Memento Mori, it's the sign out of my podcast, is tattooed on my arm. I know that my time is finite. I know that it's not guaranteed. That is an extremely empowering thing that I meditate on very regularly. It's a permanent reminder. But it doesn't mean that I wake up every day like in fight or flight thinking, oh my God, I'm running out of time. Because the conundrum is it doesn't actually make you more productive to spend time on that. Staying in that low vibration, that negative thought pattern, that fear will keep you contracted, unable to create the things that you need to create, and ironically will keep you trapped in the state that you're trying to escape with urgency, whether it is, I don't know, as people say, the matrix, or maybe it's just whatever individual goal you have, your health, wanting to start a business, wanting to start making content, whatever. You absolutely have more time than you could ever need or worry about. It's all happening perfectly. And also don't worry about like sunk cost into whatever you've done thus far. Everything is cumulative. I was messaging somebody today. He was talking about graduating university and not knowing whether he should go into a sales position that would be good, quote unquote, for his career, but he knows he wants to step into entrepreneurship. And I told him, remember, there's no wrong choice because everything in this life is cumulative. It's all additive. All of your experience are adding to who you're becoming. So say you take the job, you spend 5 years in a career and you realize it's not for you. Fine. You spent 5 years developing yourself as a person. You've developed character traits. You've gotten hard skills from whatever the job was. And in his case, sales, that's a super transferable skill, not only to profession and actually selling products, but also your confidence as a person to sell yourself, your confidence to sell yourself in the dating market. There is absolutely nothing lost ever. Everything is additive, and all of your previous experiences have led you to right here, watching this single video. So maybe this is a catalyst point for you to pivot and change direction, or maybe this will be somewhere in the middle of your season where you're still trying to assess what your direction is and get clarity on that. That's also all fine. Everything is additive. Don't beat yourself up for the YouTube rabbit holes that you've gone down in the past, or trying out an art project, or trying to build an Instagram page that kind of fizzled out. It literally can't not be for your benefit. You've had to become someone different in the process of doing the things, and you get to keep all of the stuff that's internalized because you keep moving forward. Even if you discard the projects that you've worked on, who cares? You are now a better person for all of it, and it's on to the next thing where you'll bring all the new tools that you've acquired for the next project. You have to leave everything in the end behind anyway, so all the accumulation of whatever it is, your career, your status, that's all meaningless. But what I think does transfer through is who you've become in the process, the lessons that you either get to pass on to people at large through creating content, your family members, your children. You're here for an experience. So embody the experience, lean in, and anytime you feel those feelings of anxiety or fear, pay attention and honor those feelings and say, maybe I don't need to be consuming this kind of content. Maybe I need to mute this account, unfollow this account. And when you feel those thoughts intrinsically coming up inside of yourself, whether it's from an outside stimulus or not, sit with it for a second and remind yourself that you have absolutely more time than you will ever need, and all that you have truly is the present moment. This is your access point to the rest of your life. So what could you be doing right now to potentially build towards this ideal future you have for yourself, and completely ignore anyone who's going to tell you otherwise, because it doesn't serve you. I promise you it doesn't serve you. It's a message that only serves them, and it isn't going to take you where you think it might. That's all for this one. Comment below what else you want to hear me talk about. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.